I got to interview George Takei.
Kimberly, I want to thank you so much for taking this time this morning to come
here.
here.
Thank you. It's a real honor.
But I usually start off by asking, where were you born?
I was born in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Las Vegas? I'm from Los Angeles, so we used to go to Las Vegas quite a bit.
Okay.
Yeah. Is that right? Did you grow up? Did you grow up there as well?
Until I was 8.
Okay.
And then we moved to Phoenix, Arizona. Okay. So.
Oh.
Yeah,
Phoenix
people would say, yeah, people would ask me, do they have schools in Las Vegas? Like, did you live in a casino?
They only know the front part.
Yeah.
Well, the facade of Las Vegas, but they don't know there's a bustling town behind that and everything. They really built it up. And I think they have more per capita, people have more planes per capita than anywhere else, private planes in Las Vegas.
I would imagine.
Don't you think so? Yeah. Wow. That's a nice area. I like Las Vegas. Everyone's tried to copy it. Dubai, because I call Dubai Las Vegas on steroids. Have you been to Dubai? Yeah.
No, I went to Macau recently,
okay.
And that's, yeah,
I haven't been to Macau.
Well.
So tell me, when you were growing up in Las Vegas, you grew up in Arizona, actually.
After age 8.
After age 8.
In Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay, do you have siblings?
I have a sister.
Okay, older or younger?
1 year younger.
You guys close?
Yes, we're practically like twins. We had that little twin language thing going on. We look and sound pretty much identical, but completely opposite personalities.
So your parents can't tell who's calling when you call?
Yes, something like that. Yeah.
That's wonderful. So what did you do when growing up there? What was it like? First, Las Vegas. Do you have strong memories of Las Vegas?
Well, yeah. The Las Vegas that everyone knows, we would, for example, go and have Sunday brunch at the casino sometimes. So that was exciting as a kid, to go in and see that whole world.
Right.
Yeah. But other than that, I went to school and I did my thing. And
Mom and Dad, how are they doing now?
Yes. They're well.
Okay.
Yeah, they're in Phoenix. Yeah. Wanting me to come home, and
I'm sure,
it's been like that for...
You've been in Japan for how long now?
Oh, a long time.
Okay, long time.
I don't even count anymore, but probably going on 27, 8 years, possibly. Yeah.
Right. So going through school, were you more academic or were you more sports-minded?
Very much academic.
You were?
I'm not a sports person at all. Yeah, I know you are, but...
and your sister?
My sister was a little more sporty than me, but also academic.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what would you like to do, like besides reading? What kind of subjects
reading,
did you like?
writing, anything sort of connected with words I've always loved. I like being outdoors, so I would ride my bike around. I like being out in nature, walking. I like solo sports. Now I'll do yoga, and I like, swimming laps by myself and things like that. I'm just not like a team sports person. And
right.
Really
Neither was I.
Oh, okay.
That's why I became a gymnast.
Okay.
It's not a team sport. And did your parents read to you a lot?
Yeah, they did. I always grew up with books. So yeah, reading, writing, music. I was always into music. I loved singing. I was in the choir, all the way up through university, actually. And it was, something I considered as a possible career.
Did you ever take up an instrument?
I played the clarinet. My dad had played the clarinet when he was growing up. So I played the clarinet in the school band. And other than that, I did play piano as well. And if I get out the sheet music, I can still bang out a few songs. But
right. And you loved singing, though.
Singing, yeah. So even now, I sang with a friend for a while. We would do the little, clubhouses and little small music festivals and stuff like that. But now it's pretty much karaoke. And
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. And you told me you're married now, too, right?
Uh-huh.
You've been married for a while?
Since 2010.
Okay.
I'm trying to do the calculation.
All right.
Yeah.
So growing up, so you said you love singing, you're very academic. Tell me one of your favorite books as a little kid.
Oh, gosh. I loved like A Wrinkle in Time. Harriet the Spy. Going back further, Bobbsey Twins, Nancy Drew.
You're really into it. So what are you into now? What do you read now?
Now, let's see. I just found a a book when I was recently at an inn in Nagano. It's about some backpackers that went missing in Australia. It's sort of a crime thriller. But that's not usually what I read. I sort of always grew up reading historical, something that combined a personal experience with an episode in history. So that sort of enabled me to learn a lot about the world. Let's see, I read a really interesting book about a sourdough baker in the San Francisco Bay Area. It's just really well told. It gets into the sort of local culture and also sourdough baking, which is something that I started doing recently too.
I'm more into metaphysical, spiritual type books. I really
I
like
am
that.
too, yeah.
That's where I'm at.
I like that you asked my my sun and my moon sign.
That's right. That's right.
I hope it, checked
Most
out.
definitely, it did. It did. You're Libra, right? So you're
I
Libra, but your moon is what? Wait, you're
Cancer.
Cancer,
I think
right.
on the Cancer Gemini cusp. So.
right, because I think I'm a double Libra.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, but you're a September baby, right?
Uh-huh.
You're born in September, and your Chinese character is a. Don't tell me it's a boar.
Yeah.
I know, because you told me.
Yeah.
I mean, you were
Oh,
there.
okay.
Yeah, you think I'm going to guess?
Yeah.
No, I know.
Wow.
I know. So going through school, did you go to college?
Yes.
Okay. So when you finished high school, what was your mindset?
I always knew I wanted to travel and, live somewhere overseas. So my big thing was I wanted to study abroad. And my parents said, okay, if you go to an in-state university, you can go study overseas. So I actually did that twice. My first year of university, I studied in France for a semester.
But I don't understand that. What do you mean? They said if you go to an in-state university, what do you mean?
If I didn't go out to an out-of-state college, then they said
You mean through the college you
trade-off.
could?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
yeah,
what
like
okay.
through a program.
Okay, through
So,
a program. But they were
yeah.
saying, okay, I got you.
So
So they still have access to you most of the time. But when
Yeah.
you left, it would be like you left from home. Okay,
something like that.
I got you.
So my first year of university, the second half, I went and stayed at a friend's home that I had met through a high school exchange group that I was involved with. So I spent my second half of my freshman year in France. And then I came back and I studied Japanese language, and I spent my fourth year studying in Hiroshima, doing peace studies. So
What gave you the interest in studying Japanese?
I think because I'd always liked languages.
Okay.
I'd always studied French in high school.
Right.
Had that experience studying, and I had my best friend growing up in high school was from Tokyo, and I spent a summer at her home when I was a junior in high school, and I had taken a night course in Japanese language, so I thought I'll study Japanese.
So was that your first time leaving the United States?
Well, I went to Canada with my parents when I was in high school, and then I visited a friend in Mexico City as well as a high school student. Then spent that semester in France, and then the next one after that was Japan.
Japan. Now, because of your friend, that was one reason why you wanted to come to Japan.
Yeah.
All right. So when you came to Japan, where'd you stay? The first time.
Sorry, I guess that would have predated France because I went to France as a university student. But as a junior in high school,
You went to
I
Japan.
stayed in. Well, she's from Hino in Western Tokyo.
yeah.
So that was exciting, to come.
Hino.
Yeah.
That's where they have. Wait. Close by Tachikawa, that area, yeah.
Tachikawa,
Because,
Hachioji, yeah.
Let's finish the college
Yeah,
stuff.
sure.
Okay, so you went through college, and you studied what? What were your majors?
I majored in Japanese language, East Asian languages and literature. So my focus was Japanese, and I also took a Chinese language course as well. So I can
And you
speak a bit of
so you
Mandarin.
read and write both.
Well, I mean, having studied Japanese already, it was since they used the kanji, it was I already had a pretty good base, so it was a bit easier, I'd say.
So how do you find it? How do you find your experience here in Japan? You come here and you're not what anyone's expecting, and the Japanese are very Japanese in their belief that ware only we can do it. When you came here, you came at a time when oh, it's so difficult, and no one can speak the language,
Yeah.
and you're just surprised if you can say hi.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, yeah, I first came in 1988, and people, like one guy in a convenience store, literally came up and was in my face, just.
You couldn't, you know.
Yeah. So, I think it was the time definitely before we've seen the influx of
That's
foreigners,
right.
anything
Now-
like we've
now
got.
people
Now,
come
now
here.
it's crazy.
And the 6 months they're speaking fluent. I mean, give me a break, please. But I think it was part of the mindset. It's funny how people tend to do what they think is possible, of course, and whatever the society is set up. Like, I think it was back in 1954 or something, the fastest man could run was, a mile was in 4 minutes, and someone broke that record. And from that time on up till now, 25,000 people have done it, including high school kids. Because people go in believing they can do it. People come over here believing they can speak Japanese, so they pick it up in 6 months.
Yeah.
But when I came in '74, no. And you believed what you were being told. You're not going to get it. It's too difficult. You'll never learn Japanese. And there was really no reason, we thought, at the time, not knowing how powerful this country really is economically. One of the best languages you could ever pick up to learn. You know, you could do so much. And I had friends who were very good with it. So you found yourself in a situation where, did you expect that? Did you expect, you'd been here just visiting as a kid. So when you came over the next time and people were looking at you like this, what was it like?
Well, the first time I came was in '88, and it was like that. And when I came back in '92, which is when I went to Hiroshima, well, I mean, that was a whole nother level. I thought as an American going there, how's it going to be? But, you know, I loved living there so much, to the extent that when I passed through Tokyo, I thought, I never want to live in Tokyo. Too many people, too crazy. Hiroshima was a lovely place to live. And, you know, here I am in Tokyo. But I didn't experience that sort of, no, not at all. So.
And in Hiroshima?
No,
Okay.
I wouldn't say.
It was just here.
That first time when I
Right.
came, yeah.
But now it'd probably be reversed. Well, there's a lot of people in Hiroshima anyway now. But there are places in Tokyo, I mean, not in Tokyo, but even in Tokyo, if you go in the outskirts, where people would still, you'd be a rarity. There are not a lot of foreigners. But there's so many here, right in the center of Tokyo, they don't even bother.
Yeah.
People don't look at you at all. It's so interesting. So you came and you stayed for that time in Hiroshima. How long did you stay?
I stayed for 1 year as a university exchange student.
Okay. What university were you going to?
Hiroshima Shudo University. Yeah.
Oh. Is that equivalent to what? And
It's a small private Christian university.
okay.
I'm not a practicing Christian. I'm not Christian at all, but it's one of the programs that my university had. So yeah, and I wanted to be in a place where there wouldn't be a large number of Americans. And there were two other programs in Osaka and Nagoya where it would be like, you know, studying in English with 200 Americans, and I thought, no. So at this program in Hiroshima, it was me, one other American, one German guy, some Asian exchange students from China and Thailand, I think. And it was, other than that, just me being immersed in the Japanese language.
Did you enjoy it?
It was amazing. So like I
it?
said, I did peace studies, which was an incredible thing to do. And I had a professor who was fluent in English, and he would meet with me privately and go over the lectures, what he had explained in Japanese. He would help me out and answer my questions in English. So it was wonderful. I got to learn calligraphy. I took shamisen lessons. Yeah, it was really an amazing experience.
Oh, that's neat. So how did you feel when you came back home? What were your thoughts when you came back after that experience?
Well, I knew I wanted to come back again. And I knew that I wasn't done, you know, with international experience. So, yeah, I worked for a while in Seattle. I went back, graduated university in Arizona. Sorry?
What'd you graduate with?
Which degree?
Yes, which degree?
Japanese language, East Asian languages and literature, yeah.
Right.
I worked for a while in Seattle at the University of Washington, sort of organizing exchange programs, doing international events and things like that. And then I came back on the JET program, and I lived in Tochigi, in Nikko, for 2 years in the mid-90s.
How was that?
That was wonderful as well.
You enjoyed it?
Yeah.
What did they give it? What kind of place? They sit you up in an apartment by yourself?
Yes.
By yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And, you know, it was a small town, so I got that small town experience, but it was close enough to Tokyo where I could come in and, yeah.
And you got to be there for 2 years?
2 years.
So you got to watch the changing of the leaves and everything.
Oh,
and
yeah.
all the tourists.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah, it was incredible.
It is beautiful. So then what were your sights after that? I
Um,
mean, what were you planning during that time?
Well, I planned to go to graduate school. It was literally a back and forth. I would go home, go back to study, come back. So I applied to a graduate school program in San Diego, and I did sociocultural anthropology. So that also was very interesting. And I graduated from that in 2000. It was supposed to be a PhD program, and I thought, you know, I think I'm done with academia.
Before your PhD?
Yeah, so I got my master's, and I thought, I'm going to move to Tokyo. I had some friends who were saying, come back. You know, I'd made friends. Like I said, living in Tochigi, I would come and spend a lot of weekends in Tokyo. And I had a friend who needed a substitute. They needed to, you know, leave their job for a while. So I came and worked for a couple months, and I thought, this is where I want to be. This is what I want to be doing. And that's when I picked up and I moved here. I said, I'm good with my MA. I don't need to go on to the PhD.
No, what about your parents? What do your parents
think? I remember my mom crying when I told her. Yeah, they never really expected to be signing up for me, you know, leaving.
Right.
Yeah, so, but it was what I wanted to be doing, so I don't regret it.
That's interesting. Your sister's is she still in Arizona?
Yes, she stayed close by.
Close by,
yeah.
Okay. Did she get married, have kids?
Yes, yeah, so I'm an auntie.
So your parents are together, they've been together the whole time?
Yes.
All right. So they have their battle scars. I shouldn't say battle scars. So that's good. They had a good relationship.
Yeah, 52 years now, I think.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Your parents are pretty young, though, I would think.
My dad just turned 80, and my mom will be turning 79 next week.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What is their ethnic background? Do they know?
My mother, Russian Jewish,
okay.
and my dad, Welsh, Irish, English. So.
Irish were everywhere.
Yeah.
Because I have Irish blood. Growing up, did they raise you religiously? Or?
No.
So what
my
was it
mother
like?
was Jewish. My dad was Christian. They said it's never going to work. They wanted to get married by a rabbi. Every rabbi refused them. And they ended up having the longest marriage among any of
the friends they had.
Yeah, basically.
Because they thought it wouldn't work because
exactly
one's Jewish,
two different religions.
Right, 2 different
They
religions.
did not raise us religiously.
Did you ever go to church at all?
Yes, actually. When I was a high school student, we went to a Unitarian church.
Okay.
And I still remember, love is the doctrine of this church.
But
I've forgotten it now, but the quest for truth is our sacrament and service is our prayer. So it wasn't about this maybe that's what helped draw me to Buddhism as well. You know, everything is sacred. Everything is connected. You find the sacred in, sort of wherever you look and in all human relations. So I like that, and that spoke to us as a family. But it was pretty rare, growing up in school, everyone was a Christian or, a Jew or a Muslim or whatever. And yeah, to say, I don't have a religion, in that time and place, it was like, wow. So
that's so interesting.
Yeah.
It makes me ponder what I think now, and I tell you, the book I'm going through right now makes me even ponder it more. They say religions are all wrong. It's about spirituality.
Yes.
Because religions, by their simple nature, but I come to that conclusion a long time ago. My father's Catholic, my mother was Methodist, and yes, I went to Catholic school for a short time. How can you be this religion and say you love everyone, yet I can't love that guy because they're a different religion? It doesn't make sense.
For sure.
It never made sense to me. And this idea, this God concept too, was difficult for me. Especially when I got older. wait just a minute. It's supposed to be some big white guy with a big beard blowing over clouds. Wait. It just, none of it made sense. I said, wait, hold it. Give me the largest number. I would ask someone to do that. And they say, well, they can't. Then how can you tell me about something that's greater than that? I don't get it. If you can't tell me about infinity, how can you talk about something that's more? And then I read books that said, older theologians knew better than to ever discuss or talk about the issue of God. You can't.
Interesting.
You can't.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. So
well, my parents always taught me the basis, I think, of every religion is the simple golden rule, you know, treat other people how you want to be treated. And they were very firm in making sure that I understood that. And I think that really formed the basis for how I grew up and how I wanted to be in the world and how I've tried to be. So
that's great. So when did you start really writing and getting into the profession you're in now? Because you're not only a writer, you're a lecturer, and you also do translation. You also, what else? You write different stories on people. You're doing everything.
Well, it was sort of an organic process. You know, when I moved to Tokyo and I thought I want to be here, I didn't exactly know what I wanted to do, but I got some jobs. I got hired to, you know, do some interpreting and do some grant writing and do some translating. And so I just thought, well, I'm going to give a go at it as a freelancer. And as part of that process, I thought I have some stories I want to tell. So I reached out to a magazine editor and I said, you know, I'd like to write this story. Yoko Ono was visiting Japan. She was performing at Fuji Rock Festival. And she was speaking in defense of Japan's Article 9, which prevents having a military. And I've always been very interested in peace movements, you know, having studied in Hiroshima. And I thought I'd like to interview Yoko Ono, or Ono Yoko, however you call her. I think she actually, having lived in the States, she goes by Yoko Ono. And they accepted my story, and I got an email interview with her. If it was her or her people, I don't know. But yeah, so I wrote a story, and that was sort of my first magazine feature. And I thought, yeah, I really like this. So I continued pitching articles, and that's led me to
Did they pay you for that article?
Yeah, you get a nominal amount. It's not, you know,
but still you're getting paid.
Anything amazing, but yes.
That makes a big difference. Then you just contributing an article. When you get paid for it, then you're saying, okay, now I'm on the right track.
Yeah.
You know, I'm in there. And people, it doesn't matter the amount.
Yeah.
You know, it's the fact that now you've become professional.
Right.
Right? Until you're paid, you're not professional. So what are some of the more exciting things you've done over your time here?
Oh gosh, I'd say a career highlight was I got to interview George Takei when he was here. I was writing for the Mainichi at the time, and the U.S. State Department brought him over. And he talked about his experience, you know, being interned as a child, as a Japanese American, and growing up as a gay man. So he was there with his husband. And it was a wonderful experience. And I wrote an article about him and his lifelong pursuit of human rights. And, you know, and he was an internet sensation at the time. I think he had
How long was that?
This was in 2015, 14, around then. And, you know, he had 7 million internet followers at the time. He just quit his Twitter account, I read a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
But how old is he now? He's in his 80s?
He must be, early 80s maybe.
Right.
Yeah, so that was like a dream come true, getting to meet him. I've gotten to interview musicians and poets and chefs and artists.
Name some of your favorites. Oh, and not favorite, name some that you've done.
I interviewed a very interesting saxophone player who lives in Paris, a Japanese woman. That was incredible because, you know, she plays all kinds of music, travels all around the world, so that was exciting. I interviewed several chefs recently, which has been really interesting, and I get to eat some great food too. So, you know, even though you're not getting paid a lot, you get some extra perks too.
That's
so
true. That's true.
Yeah, that's exciting.
What are some of the things that you think that you'll go towards, you're starting to focus more on? As years start to go by, I think we start to hone
Yes.
what we're going to focus on, because we realize the most important thing to us now is time.
Yeah.
And you have a finite amount of it. So
Sure.
since you do, what do you find yourself really looking at now?
Well, you know, I've been writing a lot lately on organic farmers and artisans and people working out in, you know, areas of the country that don't get a lot of attention. So if possible, I would really like to be able to continue doing that.
Here in Japan?
To travel around here in Japan to find the stories that aren't getting told and to be able to tell those. And it's what I've been doing. So if I can continue that for, you know, a few more years, I would be fulfilled and happy. A lot more years.
Do you believe, okay, I'm about to say a few more years. Do you believe in the idea of retirement?
Not really. I mean, I would want to retire into something else, you know. I like gardening. I love gardening. Every year I do my garden. So, you know, thinking about myself, you know, in the future, several decades from now, whatever, just putzing around in my garden, like that for me would be happiness.
Do you ever see yourself leaving Japan?
I believe so, yeah.
You're going to leave?
Possibly, yeah.
To where? Where would you
know, go back to the States, maybe Brazil, where my partner's from. I'm not sure. Yeah.
And that's the terminology now, too. Even when you get married, you call your husband partner.
Yeah, well, she's my wife.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I should have mentioned it earlier.
Well, I didn't know. But
I prefer the term partner. So.
Wait, but that's people are doing. Even if it is a man and a woman, they call each other partners now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in the LGBT community, we've been doing it for a long time, but I noticed that heterosexual people have been doing it.
Yeah. That's what I've been thinking
lately as well. Yeah.
Okay. How is that topic here in Japan for you? I mean, how does it feel to be here? How's the LGBT community in Japan?
Yeah, well, it's growing, and you know that was exciting as well when George Takei came here with his husband, and the community
he's the
was
one that used to be in Star Trek.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
But no one knew.
No one knew.
He couldn't. You better not say anything then.
Exactly, and he talked about that. You know, going out to gay bars, and you know, they would call in the cops, and they would have to leave, and they would like expose people who were there. So literally, people were in fear for their livelihoods,
That's right,
and sometimes even their lives.
That's right.
But in Japan, you know, there's a thriving community, and it's gotten a lot more attention recently.
How so?
Gay Pride is coming up in a couple weeks, and the parade has grown massively over the time that I've been here.
Last year, didn't our ambassador, our U.S. ambassador?
Yeah.
He made some comments.
Yes, yeah. Most of the ambassadors come. They have an ambassadors event, and the ambassadors from many countries speak there. So, yeah, it's really become more accepted, more mainstream. Not completely, of course.
Right.
There's still a lot of battles to be won. Gay marriage is not legal in Japan.
But they do recognize in Shibuya at least
partnership certificates around the country in different areas around the country.
So what is that? What's the difference between that and marriage?
Well, I mean, they have no legal standing, right? So
it's just
it's a piece of paper, and you know, hospitals are supposed to honor it if you want to come in and see your sick loved one, because they have, you know, a family-only policy. And if you have this certificate, it's likely that they will let you in, whereas in the past, you wouldn't have been able to.
But that's the only that's the only benefit?
Basically, there's no legal standing. And so, you know, there's people who were really speaking out and saying, look, you know, we want to have kids, but we need to have legal rights as parents for our children. Adopting as well, it's hard. You know, for, let's say, a lesbian couple who wants to have a baby, you know, in order to get a sperm donor, there's a gray zone right now. And they're trying to pass the law to say that no, only heterosexually married couples can access this treatment.
In Japan?
In Japan. So it's yeah, it could go either way right now. But
yeah, what if they had a friend?
Yeah, you could do that.
That's no problem.
Sure.
But then how would they be raised? I mean,
but then you wouldn't have legal rights as a married couple, because
she'd still be a single mother.
The only people who have legal rights, yes, in this country as it stands right now,
marriages.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's it. But do you get hassled at all? Do you feel that? Do you think it, like, versus the United, well, the United States
Well,
is a whole place on its own. There's 50 different countries. It's really interesting.
Yeah,
So
I mean, the hate crimes here, I would say, are minimal compared to
but they have them?
other places. They have had incidents, but they're few and far between. Last year, there was a politician who said, kimochi warui, and, you know, that kind of thing, which really, it grinds you down to hear that kind of thing. So, yeah.
Oh. Can we talk about this a little bit?
Sure.
You don't mind? Okay.
No.
When did you feel that you felt that way? When did you first
When did I realize?
That you
I was looking back on my whole life when I was very small. But
it's very small.
Elementary school student,
oh, really?
maybe, I guess.
Okay.
But I didn't really realize until I was a university student. I mean, there's some people who say, I remember when I was, 5 years old, and I don't remember back that far, but
okay.
yeah.
But did you ever have any interest in boys?
Oh yeah, I had boyfriends.
You did,
yeah.
But it wasn't the same?
No.
Okay. It's interesting. I don't know now, and I feel like I'm in the safe zone because I'm almost finished, and I went through...
Well, I could have not said anything.
That's true.
But that's true.
And there's no right and wrong.
Of course.
But we've been taught that. That's what makes it so difficult. And I'm fighting with that every now and then because I've been taught that. I chose to be the way I am. To look the way I am and everything. I believe that. Because when I was a young kid, I was watching TV and Elvis Presley jumped out of a helicopter. And I said to myself, and it was black and white TV, when I get old, I want to be just like that. And almost simultaneously I said, but I can't. And I cried that night thinking, God, let me go to purgatory, because I was going to Catholic school at the time, and come back the way I want to be. And I went through a range of my father, my uncle, Hercules, Tarzan, Superman. I thought, and I finally figured out who I wanted to be. Me. But think about it, to have to go through that as a little kid, to question yourself like that when other people never have to question themselves. I think it was fantastic. I think it was probably the best thing I could have done for myself. And that's how I've raised my boys. Having a mother, for my sons having a mother that's Japanese and having me being African American, I told them when they were growing up, I said, people are going to call you half. But I want you to know that you're not. I gave 100%. And so did your mother. So if anything, you're actually double. I said it's a biological fact. But you don't have to correct people when they say that. I just want you to understand it. And one more thing. Who do you love more than anyone else in the whole wide world, no matter what? And I taught them to say themselves. After that, it can be mom, dad, whatever, it's up to you. And the reason why I say that is because the universal force gift to you was, when I put 300 million potential human beings in your mother, you beat them all out to get here. They did. They had to. All of us have done that. That was your gift from the universe. Your gift back to the universe is what you decide to become.
Wow.
That's your gift back, but you've got to become something. If you learn, you've got to give. This journey is not for free. You've got to do something during this time. And that's what I've told them.
That's wonderful.
And they seem to
they
be
must
working
be doing amazing
that way.
things.
Well, I mean, all of us are. All of us are, but we're not told that enough. We're told to be fearful. We're told to believe in a hell and all these other nonsensical things to keep you afraid. I just heard in this book that I was reading that at one time, we don't know where hell came from, where all of this doubt in ourselves and the hierarchy we have now came from this. Long time ago, women used to run everything. It used to be a matriarchy. There's no doubt. And men's only function was basically to raise the kids. He raised the kids and lift things that were heavy. But all the government, all the top positions were all held by women. They ran everything. Then came a time when men got a little upset with that and they decided to change things. And I believe this. They're using this as something that could be, not necessarily true, but I believe this would happen. We decided to take over because we had the physical strength, and we did it through strength, but we're not smarter by any means. And we flipped it and relegated everything to the women, the cooking, the taking care of the kids, but we still lift heavy things. That's about the only thing. We still lift heavy things. And since that time, in order to keep people controlled and in order, we had to create a devil. Some place you'd go if you didn't do things right here. And we did that and we had to, all of the spiritual people came, or aliens, or whatever you want to call them, they came down here to give us more wisdom or hope and stuff. We either killed them, or, we basically said that something was wrong with them. That's what we do. Men, not women, men. We took care of them, we got rid of them. And that has left us where we are now. And it's very interesting to listen to all this and think about, what is this all about? But I love it. I think I know. And I think it's a journey you have to go on. I think it's just like infinity. It's something that continues. Time is a construct that we've made up and all these other things.
Definitely.
Don't you think so?
Oh, for sure.
See? And I know it just from being here, and how you decide to think changes it. Wow.
For sure.
Well, that's my podcast.
Do you wish you got to see the solar eclipse?
Which one? We just had one?
Yeah.
When?
Yesterday. People in Texas, where it was a full total
I don't
solar
listen to the news or anything,
eclipse.
so I missed it, yeah.
And there were people it passed through like a strip of Mexico, the US, and Canada. And there were people, go online and see. The photos are phenomenal. And I know people mostly in Texas, I think, who got a full view. And it was spectacular. And they say, I felt something changed. The energy shifted.
So it's the moon passing between the Earth and the Sun.
Yeah,
right? Okay.
Exactly. The moon sort of blocking so it was daytime. It was like 11 a.m. or something there. And it all became dark, and you can see these photos of, an orange glow like that, and covered by the moon. But yeah, it's spectacular. And I felt sort of an energy shift as well.
Did you?
So,
so you're into that?
Oh, yeah.
Is your partner as well?
I believe in, yes.
Okay, she better be you.
Yeah.
Otherwise she wouldn't be your partner.
Yeah, for sure.
That's good. How long have you been really involved in spirituality?
I think it was a process.
It is.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm drawn to this idea of interconnection and the sacred being everywhere and in everyone. And so for me, it just really makes sense. And not having had a religion, but yet feeling that like you, I feel definitely a sense of spirituality.
Right.
I was out in the desert in Nevada, and we were protesting. It was on August 6th, the day that the atomic bomb was dropped in Hiroshima, and we were out there protesting at the nuclear test site. And it was led by priests and nuns, and they were just like some of the most impassioned people I've met in my life.
But they should take it off then, stop. I don't, it's interesting. It's just very interesting. But I love this country because the spirituality is so high here. And they did such a good job with their 3 centuries of convincing people that don't even look alike that you're Japanese. Didn't they? Think about it. You go to Kyushu and Okinawa, they're different looking people.
Yeah.
They really are. I mean, come on. And they got them all thinking, and it's still done. But I want to make sure my kids understood that. So in elementary school, I had them go through elementary school. But I did something else too. I understand the prejudice in the world, and particularly here. So I made sure that when my boys went to school, I was the one that represented them. So I was known as Lanskun no Papa, Luskun no Papa. I was the one there because if my wife went, I said, if my wife goes, they're going to think Daddy's not here.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful.
So I made sure they knew who I was. International schools, I didn't have a problem because I was a teacher at the international schools.
You asked about the highlights of my career.
Yes.
And, tying together with spirituality, I had an opportunity down in the Amami Islands to meet with a shaman. It was a female shaman. They're called yuhta. And it was like she looked into my soul. I mean, she knew things about me, my life, my family, and brought messages from the other side. So, that to me is spirituality. That's evidence right there. That it's so much more than what we are here on this blue ball. Yeah, it really is. So.
And I love that. It's scary too.
Yeah, it freaked me out in a sense,
scary?
but it was incredible. I mean, I cried, and it was just...
How long did she...
It was probably 30 minutes. She started by chanting, and then came, and the only thing she knew about me was my name and my birthday. And then she just started talking, and it was like mind blown.
Did you pay for this?
No, I was, it was one of the travel writing gigs that I was on, and I had interviewed the owner of a hotel chain down in the Amami Islands. And somehow we got on this topic of spirituality, and he said, oh yeah, I know one of the shamans, I'll set up a meeting for you tomorrow. And he set it up, and I went there, and yeah, it was serendipity or synchronicity or whatever you want to call it, but yeah.
And it's part of your journey, so that you know. What was the spark that got you interested? Your friend? Was it your friend?
Well, I always knew there was something more, you know.
What movie? The Wizard of Oz? What was it? What movie did that for you?
You know, have you heard of Sedona?
No, Sedona.
It's a town in the north of Arizona near the Grand Canyon, famous for its red rocks. And it's now famous as this, you know, power spot, like positive energy vortexes, and many Japanese people and people from around the world go there. But before, you know, it had been discovered, I used to go there when I was a high school student, and I felt some kind of vibration or something. I don't know what it was, but I would go there and, you know, just feel in the awe of nature. But I always knew that I wanted to get out and explore. Like, I sort of was, you know, one of the weird kids that didn't really fit in, and I knew I wanted to travel, and I would ride my bike around. And I was friends with the exchange students, and that's what led me to come here as a high school student.
Why not Europe?
Well, I did go to Europe. I went to France.
But I mean, you didn't want to stay? You didn't feel?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, it could have been anywhere. And, you know, like I said, I love Brazil. I've spent time in Argentina. I love where I am, anywhere that is. And I'm not one of those people who came to Japan because I got into anime or whatever.
Right.
It's random how I ended up here. I happened to have a friend who was Japanese, and that's why I ended up here.
Before I end the podcast, Kimberly, there's a question I like to ask everyone. If you could magically go back in time, since time is really not existent, and meet the younger Kimberly, knowing what you know now, and you wanted to give her advice, how old would that Kimberly be, and what advice would you give her?
Oh my gosh. Well, I guess, you know, there's a favorite photo I have of me as a kid, and I'm probably a year old, and I wore glasses. I wore glasses since I was a few months old, actually. I had several eye surgeries, and I had a patch over one eye, so I have my little glasses and have a patch on my eye, and I don't know where I'm going, but I'm going somewhere, and I'm very determined. And I would just probably tell her, like, you know, you do you. Like I said, I've always been a little out there, a little different, but it's led me to where I am, and I guess I would tell her it's okay. It's okay.
Just do you.
Yeah.
That's beautiful, Kimberly. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I want to thank all of you for watching or listening to this podcast. And never forget, it's all on loan, so continue to reach for the stars.
Because you're too blessed to be stressed.